Today we're gathering around the campfire with Ronnie, a QHS member whose life is as exciting and grounding as a hike through the mountains. But what trails did he tread to reach these heights? Let's trek into the wilderness and discover the adventures that led Ronnie to where he is today.
Hi, I'm Ron, and having been born in 1949, I'm one of those many baby boomers. Ancestors of both my parents came from England and Ireland. My mother's in 1622 to Massachusetts. Dad's in mid-1700s to Virginia. Both probably came to escape religious and economic issues. Both my parents were strongly influenced by their early life during the Great Depression and World War II. I remember as a child they limited items such as sugar, sodas, etc., and Mom collected green stamps to earn discounts at the store. I have both an older brother by 7 years and an older sister by 2 years. I was born in Mena, Arkansas, in western Arkansas, a small, economically depressed farming town, but we moved to Fort Worth, Texas when I was about 9 months old because my parents decided they could not afford to raise 3 children on that small farm. We lived on a quiet city street where we always played outside with neighborhood kids, exploring, getting dirty, and with the occasional fistfight. A couple of vacant lots on our street became our playgrounds. As a teenager, I delivered newspapers for 4 years at 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 2 a.m. on Sundays. These Sundays gave Dad the opportunity to teach me how to drive, but with low risk due to the deserted streets. My dad had told me early on that if I wanted to go to college, I would have to pay for most of it myself, since my brother and sister was older and ahead of me. My dad worked as an inside finish carpenter, like cabinets, panels, paneling, doors, wall trim, and being a perfectionist served him well in that job. Luckily with my paper route, Texas's cheap in-state tuition, and jobs I got in college, I was able to do it with only small assistance from my parents for room and board. In senior high, I joined junior ROTC, and by my senior year, I had earned the rank of cadet colonel for the entire junior ROTC program across all of the Fort Worth high schools, and commanded my school's competition drill team where we won second place citywide. Our family was very loving and protective. Dad was strict, demanding, and a perfectionist, but wanted us to be successful adults. Mom was the arbitrator. Being the third child and an unexpected surprise to begin with, Mom always said I was the best behaved, but I knew it was really because, being the youngest, I got to see what happened when my older brother and sister got out of line. I was quiet, did not speak until I was 3 years old, but the doctor said I had learned to get what I wanted without talking. I'm still quiet at times, especially in large groups around strangers, but I prefer to sit back, absorb what's going on, and then contribute when I feel it's the right time. As a toddler, I fell head first over my tricycle and jammed the end of the handlebars into the right side of my abdomen, causing a hernia that required surgery. Also, each year until about 10 years old, my stomach would get really sick and I could not keep food down, so I would end up in the hospital for a few days. It turned out that the valve in the top of my stomach would not close all the way, so it allowed food to easily regurgitate. Our doctor said I would eventually grow out of it, which I did, except for chronic minor reflux the rest of my life. As a preteen, in my first attempt at the high dive at a city pool, my legs flipped over my back when I hit the water, and I was almost not able to get out of the pool due to the pain. As a result, I've had periodic pain, discomfort in my lower back, but chiropractic treatments have really helped. Later in life, I developed arthritis in both thumbs, but it became really bad. I actually scheduled surgery, but then about 2 weeks before the surgery, I thought I'd make one last attempt with a different bone supplement I read about. Well, about 1 week later, I called the orthopedist and canceled my surgery. About 4 years later, the arthritic pain was about 90% gone. I obtained a BS in forest management from Stephen F. Austin State University in East Texas, and went on to obtain a MS in Forest Soil Fertility from the SUNY College of Environmental Science and Forestry in Syracuse, New York. This is where I met my future wife, who happened to be the departmental secretary of the department I was in. Having had a dad from that time period, my view of marriage was that the wife stayed home, took care of the home and kids, while the husband went out into the world and worked. This included being the boss at home and not having to do anything around the house except occasional repairs, car upkeep, and yard work. Luckily for me and Molly, I eventually began to see the light. Now, after 52 years of marriage, we equally share most daily house chores. Molly and I had a son and a daughter. Both are in the late 40s. Our son is single, and our daughter has 2 preteen daughters. Lord help her. Our daughter, who after swearing she would never marry a military guy or a doctor, ended up with a med student during graduate school, who later joined the Army with several tours overseas with Special Forces. Our son is a recovering alcoholic and gay. I told him last year that due to his situation, it has made me personally grow. I became more accepting and compassionate, less judgmental, and I hope that I was becoming a better father now. In my undergraduate studies, I had joined ROTC again. I was commissioned in Army intelligence. I obtained a delay of active duty in order to attend graduate school. In the Army, my primary specialty in intelligence was planning aerial reconnaissance and interpreting aerial photography. I was able to get this specialty because my forestry education had already introduced me to it. This got me 4 years of jumping out of airplanes with 82nd Airborne Division, 3 years in Washington, D.C. with satellite photography of central China, and 3 years in Tokyo teaching Japanese intelligence personnel the same skills. Our time in Japan was by far our best Army assignment, both from the standpoint of working with the Japanese military and touring the beautiful country. After Japan and returning my family to the States, I went by myself to Korea for 1 year as the intelligence officer for the 3rd Brigade of the 2nd Infantry Division. My parents and Molly took me to the Dallas-Fort Worth airport when it was time to leave for Korea. That short time at my parents' house and the airport was the first time that my dad and I had really enjoyed being together. No pressure, no demands, just enjoying each other's company. Important memories. Unfortunately, he died 2 months later in an accident repairing their camper trailer. 3 years later, I returned to Korea to be an intelligence plans officer at Camp Red Cloud in Uijeonbu, near where the actual FRO 77th MASH unit had worked. That TV show was not really liked at the time by many Army folks, but Molly and I loved it and still do. I completed 20 years active service and retired while in Georgia. I'm very proud of how self-confident of a military wife Molly had grown to be, because when I had to leave for new assignments, she had to stay behind multiple times and move the family, to include having to find and buy a house once. When I was in Korea my second time, and she was living in the townhouse we had previously purchased near D.C., I flew back over a weekend and met her in Atlanta, where we had to find a house in just 2 days. We did, and then she handled the actual purchase and moved by herself after I returned to Korea. After the Army, I worked almost 15 years in computer support, with 11 of those years at Georgia Pacific headquarters in Atlanta, where I led a team of software developers that supported the company's tax department. After fully retiring, I started volunteering much more with local organizations such as the Kiwanis, a local soup kitchen, a food pantry, the Salvation Army, a food bank, highway cleanup, and no, that wasn't due to court-ordered mandatory community service. A free health clinic, and the longest time has been with the AARP Tax Aid program, where I still work each year as a team leader, district technical coordinator, and assistant instructor. Molly and I have been fortunate with traveling the world, some due to the Army and others on our own. We have visited Panama, Nova Scotia, Alaska, London, Paris, Normandy, Amsterdam, Copenhagen, St. Petersburg, Berlin, Stockholm, Helsinki, Prague, Budapest, Vienna, Zurich, Tokyo, Kyoto, Seoul, Hong Kong, Guangzhou, China, Honolulu, San Juan, and Nassau. I did not join QHS due to my existing ailments, because all were minor at the time, but because over the previous 15 plus years I had become a believer in everything as energy. As part of that journey, I have had a soul review reading, underwent a Reiki session hoping to help persistent eczema, which I was then told it was a digestive issue, not skin, and acupuncture treatments for thumb arthritis and lower back pain. Since around the time of joining QHS, my periodic back pain and eczema have greatly improved. That is probably due to the QT Wave and the touch that I use, recommendations from Darlene based on my bioscan results, and my dietary experimentations. While working and after retirement, I have dedicated time to helping others, even in the Army, either with being a team leader or volunteering. This was peaked with leading a team to prepare free tax returns for low-income folks over the last 15 years, and then joining Love One Society, where I have plans for and feel excited about opening multiple community advancement centers, or CACs. That is where I learned of QHS when Tracy moved over. With my plans for the CACs, I do not expect having much time to devote directly to QHS, but I've built into my CAC structure a team to search for potential people wanting to develop and run QHS healing centers, then get them linked up with QHS and fund their costs. With healing my health challenges, I continue weekly exercises like 2-mile walks 2 to 3 times a week. For my back pain, I use chiropractic and bone supplements. For eczema, I've changed from a normal Southern American diet to avoiding meat except for fish and drinking turmeric and ginger drinks, but this did not really help much. I then went the opposite way and changed to a low-carb, high-meat, fat diet, drastically cutting back on starches and sugars. My eczema mostly disappeared within a few weeks and I lost over 10 pounds. Changing to low-carb, high-meat, fat diet dropped my A1C into a normal range from pre-diabetic. My heart disease, I started statins in 1994 due to high LDL. Had a stent inserted in 2011 due to a blockage but no heart attack. In June 2025, due to chest pressure but again no heart attack, I had a triple bypass but again without any heart muscle damage. I asked my cardiologist that if statins were so effective and I have taken them for 30 plus years, why had I required a stent and then a bypass? He replied that they don't really know why, it just happens. That has led me to really question the value of statins and the true relationship between high LDL and heart disease. My view of the future, I have always had and will continue to have an optimistic personality even in challenging situations. I've always seen the glass as half full or that it soon will be. I expect that in the post-QArc, my world will be even more sure of the outcome of everything, knowing now that health issues will no longer be a concern. I'm really looking forward to the future of QHS and it will be doing for humanity. Thanks.
Join us on the Prequel, where every story matters and every voice is heard. Because here at QHS, we're all about healing, learning, and growing together.